So I became obsessed with this. And then out of the blue, OpenAI reached out to me in early 2020. And somebody I had known that I was really into kind of the stuff and been following a bit, but talking about it on podcasts and stuff. And they said, you'll put you on NDA. And then they said, do you want to play with GPT-3? I'm like, GPT-3? Like, yes, I do. And I was obsessive. Like, I just would stay up late. I just put out a book. I was between, book releases, so I had plenty of spare time. And so I just released a book and just I'd be up till 4 or 5 a.m. playing with it and trying to understand, taking what I knew about GPT-2 and taking a look at GPT-3 and figuring out how do you get it to do what you want to do. Now, I have to understand that between GPT-3 and ChatGPT is GPT-3 was a model that was just trained on a bunch of text. It wasn't taught afterwards. If somebody asks you to make a list, make a list. Somebody says, do this, do that. It literally was just trying to predict the next sequence from a bunch of text. So if you said, this is, Alan Peterson's blog about, the movie Alien and what I like, it would go, okay, I guess this is what would something on the internet or a blog post look like? And it would continue writing down. If you said, write a blog post about this, maybe it might work, maybe it wouldn't. So prompting was very different then. Prompting was really trying to figure out how to get the model to do what you wanted it to do. And that kind of you had to look at the world of text to say, if I want it to be factual, then I should probably say, this is an abstract, title abstract, materials research study or something. Give it in the world of text where it would find something. If I wanted it to be sort of truthful, I would figure out a truthful story. If I wanted to be creative, I'd figure that out. So OpenAI was a very small company at that time. And, here I was just showing all these examples. I'd send them videos of stuff and also be coding up examples making apps for the iPhone and all this and showing a lot of this potential. And they asked me, said, would you like to work with us? And I've never had like a real job in my entire life. But I looked at, yeah, I know. And I looked at what's going on there and I said, yeah. So they hired me to write prompts. They hired me I was running a project called Creative Applications, and that was in 2020, and worked with different teams there. The Apply team would work with researchers. And then 2 years ago, I became the science communicator for OpenAI, where basically I would help figure out how do we explain these things, how do we do that, and still play with the stuff and do all that. So
released in November to the public. Were you surprised at how it exploded, or were you expecting it? It must have been crazy for you guys.
Yeah, we were in November. We had a meeting because remember November last year, still not even a year ago. That's the crazy part. We're less than a year into ChatGPT. Last year, we're sitting there planning for the rollout of GPT-4. Now, GPT-4 had been ready for months, but we've been testing it. So we're just under the hood hat. We weren't, publicly talking about it. And we knew we were going to have like a rollout in like March. So understand, we were months ahead from GPT-4, but we knew it was going to be very crazy with that. So one of our researchers, a friend of mine, says, hey, we want to go test this thing. And it was called a low-key research preview. And we're like, well, how many users do you think are going to want to play with this? And we've had other things when people tested and whatnot. And, maybe 10,000, worst case, 100,000 max, whatever. We had no expectation for what this was going to do, because understand the core capability of ChatGPT had been in a model called GPT 3.5, which had been available for 6 months before. Every cool thing you could do with it, you could get it to do with maybe a little bit more prompting and in a different interface. So it wasn't like we thought capability-wise, this is a new model. It was more like for ease of use-wise. Well, you reduce the friction in prompting it, you reduce the friction of the interface, you reduce the friction of having to create an account, and pretty much there's no friction, and you end up with the ChatGPT phenomenon. And funny as it was, is the first week or so, it just started going crazy. But middle of December, we had an employee Christmas party, and one of our execs is like, well, everybody's talking about it now, but the internet, a week from now, nobody will be really paying attention. Turned out not true. And so it was insane. And I had my running joke in one of our Slack threads was like, okay, I'm like, I said, it's not if, it's when we are going to be a subject of a South Park parody. And then, we were on Saturday Night Live, South Park parody. And then, the latest, latest primary debate, guess what? It's a punchline. And it's like, that's how fast that adopted. So it's a whiplash for everybody.